Hello friends, do you want to secure your Mule applications with OAuth OpenID Connect? Then are you the right place. Today I'd like to discuss about configuring Mule applications with OAuth OpenID Connect. So OpenID Connect is an authentication protocol in OAuth stack, mainly deals with authentication of applications. The use case is like this. We have an application running in any point platform. We want to secure this application. So if a client want to access this application, client has to send the access token. Using that, the client it will validate the access token and application will respond back to client. So how the client get access token? Every client has its own credentials like client ID and client secret. The client first contact the external identity provider Okta, and he provides client ID and client secrets. The client gets the access token. Using that access token, he will access the any point platform application. So this is the at high levels, and we see how we configure the external identity provider Okta and how we configure the endpoint platform, and how we secure the application, how we test the application in the following process. All right. Okay. Then see, we'll step by step. First, we check how to configure Okta, and next we see how to configure Anypoint platform. So Okta is an identity provider. Anypoint platform delegates the authentication responsibility to Okta IDP. So in other session, I explain you how to create and developer account in Okta and how to activate that account. Please check that for creation of the account purpose. Then I assume that you already created an account in Okta and you activated that account. For that, I'm going to my email ID. This email ID I given while creating account in Okta. I got this email from Okta. So in this email, you can see the domain URL. This is a domain URL to configure your Okta. So I'm copying this one. I'm going to this Okta domain. It asks for the username and password. Already logging in another tab, so it login directly. So once you log into Okta, the first step is here. I listed the steps in this presentation. Please go through the presentation steps over here. The first step is creating Okta. This is done. Activating and logging to Okta. This is also done. And create application representing any point platform. So we will create an application Okta that represents any point platform. Come over here and go to application section, add application, take web location, and next use some application name. Here I want represent application any point platform. I'm giving the application name as any point platform. Good. That's it. Just to give an application name and check this client credentials granting. Done. So I got app. So I have an application created and I got username, so client ID and client secret for this application. Okay, and just I'm noting down the client ID and client secret in the separate notepad so that I can configure this thing. This is any point application client ID and client secret. Okay. Next step is according to our document. Next step is create scope. Scope is important to create an access token. So to create a scope, I need to go to the API, authorization servers, go to click on the server, and go to scopes, click on the scope, and giving the scope as some any point scope. And I want to include this in metadata. We'll see what is metadata URI going forward. Just I'm doing so. This is optional and create. The scope got created, and next step is you need to create a token. So this token has to configure in any point platform configuration. For that, I'm creating a token over here. To create a token, go over here and go to the API tokens and create a token. I'm giving as any point token. That's it. And got the token, copy the token and put aside. All right. So now, okay, we're done with the configuration on Okta end. We need to do one more configuration that we do after any point platform configuration. So we are good till after configuration. Now the next step is we need to configure any point configuration. No. Hope you have account in any point, and we need to configure the client providers. So to configure the client providers, log into any point platform. Here I already log in and go to access management in the management center, and inside the access management you will find the client providers in the left hand menu side. Client providers, click on the client providers. In the client providers you need to configure OpenID connect to dynamic client registration, and you need to have whole bunch of information. I will tell you where you will get this information. Then I will giving this. Here what you are doing is you are configuring OIDC client provider, means the Okta thing you are configuring any point platform over here. Just for that I'm giving the name as Okta config. Can you any name? Config. And we need to configure the issuer, client registration URL, all the things. Go to Okta, go to authorization servers, click on the default, and you can find the metadata URI over here. Click on the metadata URI. You will find all the information over here. Whatever configuration you need to do in any point platform, that information you can find over here. Then go to any point platform and you need to configure the issuer. So issuer is the first URI. Copy this issuer and paste over here. So not over here, over here. And client registration URL, that is also you can find over here. Client registration URL, registration endpoint. Copy this and paste the client registration URL. The next is authorization header. So here you need to view the authorization header like this. You need to SSWS. I'll show you. SSWS space the token you created in the any point in Okta. So this is the token I created in any point Okta. That token you need to view. Okay. Next is client ID and client secret. This client ID and client secret, any point platform client ID, client secret that you created in Okta, right? That client ID, the client ID, this one, and client secret. Client secret. All right. Next, you need to configure authorize URL, token URL, and token introspection URL. These three things you can find over here. Authorize URL, Just searching for that. Other so authorization endpoint. This is authorization URL. And token URL is token endpoint. You can see the token endpoint. This is token URL. Copy the token URL. And token introspection URL. Token review introspection is good. Introspection endpoint. So this is introspection URL. Yeah, wonderful. So we given all the required information in the to configure the Okta over any point platform and create. Good. Once we created, we get the client provider added over here, and here assigned environments is 0. So we need to assign one environment. So for that, go to environments. You can find all the environments, your production, test staging, all the things. Right now, I have two environments configured to my platform account. So I want to configure the client provider to the sandbox environment. Click on the sandbox and select it. After config the client provider is the right and update. So now you can find for sandbox the default client provider is Okta config, right? So Okta configuration and the endpoint platform is completed. Fine. And next step is you want to configure a API using OpenID connect, right? For that you need to have the API. So prior to this configuration, I created API in API Design Center. This is my API. It's called, it represents order processing. Very simple order get and post API. Order process API. Let me show you the API. It has two HTTP methods, get and post. Very simple API, right? Get and post. Okay. This API already implemented in independent platform. And I deployed this API to the cloud. So I show you that deployment in the runtime manager one here. So this is the order process IMPL. This is one. Um, this one no, this one is not required. Yeah. So now this is the implementation. One implementation order process IMPL. No, what I want to do is I want to secure this implementation using OpenID connect. So if you want to secure you want to apply policies, the point is you need to go to the API manager. Now I am going to API manager to configure an instance of this API. Manage API from the exchange. This order process, and I want to configure with proxy. Select the proxy, and I want to Mule 4.1 and implementation. For the implementation, I need to again get the up and running URI that is there in runtime manager. I am opening the runtime manager in other tab so that you easily get that rather than switching back and forth. Anypoint.com, and here I'm going to runtime manager. Deployed application. This is the endpoint, right? Just I want to check API slash order. This is working. Then want to configure this UI over here. This is up and running implementation. Yeah, it's good. Next, the client provider is oAuth-config, and save this. We will do the proxy name and proxy done as my proxy application deploy. So proxy application is deploying. Let me see the deployment status over here in the runtime manager. So the proxy application got deployed now, and now I want to configure a policy to this. I'm going back to API manager, and I'm going to the policy list. So we have active policy, and going to policy, going to API instance, and now I'm applying policy. Add new policy. You can find the OpenID connect token enforcement policy. Click on this, check this, and select the latest policy version, configure policy. No need to give anything, just apply. So I applied the this policy. Now let me test the API. So this is a proxy order, proxy instance. I'm selecting this one. Into my slash order. This is HTTPS. Yeah. So we get another token has been revoked. This token is not passing any token over here. Access token was not provided. So it's confirmed that this proxy endpoint is properly configured with OpenID connect policy. Then we need to pass the access token to access this proxy endpoint. So the point is how to get the access token. First thing, okay. To get the access token, if we go to our slide over here, so to get the access token, we need to pass access token. To get the response from the app, we need to get the access token first. Then how to get the access token? To get the access token, we need to contact the Okta and we get the access token. To contact the Okta, we need to have client ID and client secret. So how to get this client ID and client secret? So for this app one, we need to get the client ID and client secret. For that, you need to go to Exchange. I'm going to Exchange over here. Exchange. And you have the API published in the Exchange when you get proxy application, or else if you can publish the API from DNS Center to Exchange. Go to Exchange, click on that API. You can create a client to this consumer to this API by request access. So this is the instance for this API instance. I'm requesting access to this instance. I configured the OpenID connect policy. So I'm creating the application. My application name is order client, something like that. Order client. And these are all optional things I'm not doing. Maybe some endpoint. It's not an important. So I'm creating a client application. So if you create a client, different. So I think the client application already exists, so that I get some errors. So I'm giving this some different client name, request access. So I got client ID and client secret. So this client ID and client secret is required to generate the token, right? I'm keeping this client ID and client secret over here because these are required to generate the token. And what happens is if you created an application, client application, in any kind of platform, and the same client application will be created in the Okta end also. So let me go to the Okta and click on the applications. Here you can see the client application, order client 2. So click on the order client 2, and this you will get the same, client and client secrets that you get in the any platform. And for this client application. So click on the client credentials and save. So now what we can do is we go to we can first we need to generate the token in order to access this API, right? To generate the token, there is a token URL, right? I show you the token endpoint in this over here. Yeah, here. Go to the token endpoint. The token endpoint given over here. This token endpoint. Log into token endpoint. There is yeah, this token endpoint. I'm just putting token endpoint. So token endpoint colon scope is equal to what scope you created, right? That scope you need to give. So for the scope I created is go to the API authentication servers. I just forgot my scope. I want to read scope. So any point scope. Copy this one, and instead of mule scope, give the any point scope. And grant type is equal to client credentials. Keep as it is. And content type is equal to application slash x hyphen www. This one you need to give, and this is not required, and this is not required, right? And you need to give the this one client ID and client secret authorization, and here the client ID and client secret. That's the you need to give this one client ID for this application and client secret. Oh, what's happening? This client secret. This is client ID. All right, accept. So now hit this one. There is some space client ID given. Just a moment. Let me check once again and see it. You know what? Some space is happened over here. Okay. Save and get the access token. So this token is required to access that API. Copy this access token, and I'm going to the proxy order over here, and here authorization, and here do the string bearer and space and access token. Next, click on this one. So we'll get the response, right? So to access this API, we are passing the access token, and how we get the access token that we got from the Okta URL. See this is Okta URL, right? Okta is generating and giving the access token, and that access token you are using to get the response from the API. So hope you enjoyed this session. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Okay. Thank you so much.